the most important one, the member who runs the show, the member who founded this club, and who proudly said, proudly and rightly said, this club without me couldn't do anything. And it's right. Without the United States, the United Nations couldn't exist. Couldn't exist. Because the power of the United States is the biggest power history has ever known. So member states said, why this country, which is the richest and the biggest in the world, don't pay their dues? So because people were a little bit irritated, and because the United States did a bad campaign, the United States was defeated, which was shocking. But it's a fact, and that's democracy. It's not that Sudan defeated the United States, it's not that Kenya defeated the United States, or Peru. It was that France, Austria, and Sweden, three democratic countries that share the same values as the United States, defeated the United States. Well, the outcry, the scandal was enormous. Enormous. In Congress, they said, we are going to leave this Human Rights Commission forever. And not only that, they say something that once again is a show of, is a blasphemy. And it's a show, I'm a diplomat, I'm going to say it. It's a show of incredible arrogance. They said in Congress, unless we are voted again in the Human Rights Commission, we are not going to pay what we owe to the United Nations. I find that absolutely outrageous. I find that utterly incredible, even humiliating for the other members. So you run a campaign, you are defeated in a club, in a normal and clean and democratic election, and because you are defeated, you don't pay the dues to the club. What are you talking about? But this is the United States, this is the most important country in the world. This is a serious country, and the country who is the leader of the world, the one that has to set an example. Anyway, there was such an outcry that look at what happened. This year, there's again election now, in a few days, in Geneva. And who was running for 4 places? Ireland, Italy, Germany, Australia, and Spain. 5 countries. And then we realized in our group, in the Western European group, as I said, Sudan is not running there, you know, or North Korea, no, it's the Western European group. What happened there? That we realized, we got the message that the United States was not going to run, that they wanted to have a clean slate, that they wanted to have a place without fighting, without running. So, in other words, you Europeans, as the French say, débrouillez-vous, do whatever you want, but I want to be there without having to fight for it, because I am the United States. Anyway, finally, the Spanish caballero, Spain, feeling the responsibility of being the presidency of the European Union, and having in mind that the most important thing now is to keep the United States quite inside the United Nations and not detach the way they were in the last 4 or 5 years, having this in mind, and in spite of the fact that Spain, out of the 5 countries, is the one that has been less often in the Commission on Human Rights, we decided to withdraw. And we withdrew. And that prompted the Italians to do the same thing. And we have both withdrawn, Spain and Italy, and the United States come back without fighting, without running an election, into the, as we wanted, into the Human Rights Commission. Well, that gives you an idea again that in spite of the fact that there was a very unfair outcry in Congress saying that Europe has made a pact, made a block against the United States, that it was incredible that there was a body called the Human Rights Commission where Sudan was sitting and the United States was not, and nobody explained in Congress that the United States had lost a clean election facing Austria, France, and Sweden, but in spite of that, we realized that the United States had to be there, that is the most important country in the world, is the biggest democracy in the world, and that we wanted to have the United States inside the Human Rights Commission and not to foster this detachment of the United States towards the United Nations. And now I finish now with the image of the United States among the 15 countries of the European Union. I would say that the feeling, the image, the way they look at the United States in Europe, of course I am going to generalize. And when you generalize, you say nonsense very often. You say stupid things, obviously. But I have to generalize. I don't have much time, and I don't want to bother you too much, so I have to generalize. If I make a cocktail with the feelings of the 15 countries of the European Union towards the United States, I would say there is a mixture of admiration and respect with mistrust. That I am simplifying, certainly, and someone can say this Spanish ambassador was a fool, because in Belgium, in this region, they feel only mistrust, or they feel only admiration, or they feel neither admiration nor mistrust. Okay, maybe. But I am making a cocktail of the 15 countries. Why is that? Admiration, because in Europe, of course, things change following events. For example, after September 11, there was no mistrust. Everybody felt solidarity with the United States, and everybody supported the United States 120%. And in my country, because we have suffered terrorism a lot, we supported the United States 200%. Everything, we told President Bush, whatever you ask, you will get for us. Anything, our bases, anything you ask. And the polls at the time gave a very heavy support for the United States. When you ask in the 15 countries, for example, they ask 3 or 4 questions, if they should share intelligence information with the United States, 70% were in favor and only 20% were against. You said you would put your military bases at the disposal of the United States for anything, 58% said yes and 30% said no, or they doubted. You will send troops with the United States to fight in Afghanistan or anywhere. The majority, a slight majority, but still a majority, said yes, I would send troops to the United States. Maybe you would think that that's nothing unusual, this show of solidarity. But think the other way around. Think we have been attacked. Spain has had a bloody and an awful and incredible, atrocious event as the one you had here in September 11. And then we tell the Americans that they should share intelligence with us, all intelligence. Well, the FBI will say, and they follow these Spaniards. They will give us some piece of bread, but and maybe one steak, but the whole beef, never. But it's obvious. I mean, the biggest power in the world doesn't share our information with the others, you know. But in Europe, they said they wanted to, because they felt that what happened here on September 11, it has happened against us, not only against Europe, that shared their values with you. It has happened to all mankind, to all civilized mankind. We felt it. Okay, so I say that these feelings has ups and downs. But as I said, there is admiration and mistrust. Admiration, because I think in Europe, they had the feeling that there must be a leader in the Western world. It's all right that this is the United States. It's a big democracy. It has come twice in very vital periods of European history to the rescue of Europe. And I can say that very freely and very openly because they didn't came to rescue me, because Spain is one of the few European countries that didn't take part in any of the world wars. So I cannot say that, but I am realistic. I see that when the Nazi regime and the fascist regime were going to take over Europe, the United States came in a very generous way